Welcome back to Bread and Butter, everybody. We're serving up the basics for Hearthstone improvement in episode 102. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host Tito. Tito, how are you doing today?
Doc, I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Listeners, we have our favoritist BG guest, Pocky. Pocky, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Glad to be back. Glad there's a new season of BGs.
Absolutely. So Pocky, when you've been playing Hearthstone, what have you been doing inside the game?
Still BGs. I honestly, it'd be curious when the last time I touched standard is. Sometimes it's been a while, but every once in a while I like start up an arena run.
Heck yeah.
The arena run still gets me sometimes, but standard, it's been a long time, and I don't even think like constructed. I'll like even more rare. I'll do wild. But then yeah, it's been a long time since I touched standard. I feel like I just don't even know. I like don't even keep up with the. Man, I know there was just the World Championship. I know some of the players, and I feel bad. I feel bad because I'm like, I like Hearthstone, but it's just BGs for me.
Well, what we need you to do is, even if you're not watching them, just pull it up to help that viewer count. Like, just say, I just, want the viewer count.
I mean, we talked about this, God, like a year ago now. I miss, it's been a year without BG's esports. And yeah, like I said, I miss it.
Nothing's really filled that void, right?
No, it's the competitive scene has all but died off in Battlegrounds. There is a duos tournament that I'll be taking part in, hosted by Collins and Sapphire, but overall, even the grassroots stuff has fallen off quite a bit because it's hard, it's one of those things where, say the NFL or the NBA didn't exist, right? Like, you'd see a pretty drastic drop off in college and, like the lower levels. Even if they'd still existed, you wouldn't have the same thing because you wouldn't have as much aspiration. People would be like, well, do I really want to do this if this is not some end goal? And people practice less and, one of the things of the competitive scene is these high level players would run practice lobbies more basically, to keep their skills high, to simulate tournament metas, which were drastically different than ladder lobbies because when every player's on the same level, you can't play the same way, right? Like, you can't play ultra greedy and just come back and other players will punish you, and it's a lot more reactive, and so you'd see a lot more tempo oriented, a lot less greed in these tournament lobbies and stuff, and players would practice that because the only way you could possibly replicate it was by creating private lobbies. I mean, occasionally you'd have like 3, 4, sometimes very rarely like 5 high-ranked players in a lobby on ladder, but so no, nothing has really filled the void, which is disappointing, and I don't expect it to come back, but we still want to support our brethren on the constructed side while it's still there.
Doc, how about yourself? What have you been up to inside of Hearthstone?
Just getting my teeth kicked in THL. It's my first time playing in THL in a very long time, but it's been fun. I've had some good interactions with people talking after the matches, so it's still been a good time. I love the people that are on my team. And then I've been playing BGs a lot, and my favorite build still Beetles. I just like Beetleborging it up because sometimes I can get them to scale pretty fast, and then sometimes I kind of can't. But I did try out the Baller Elemental build. It was super contested though. I probably should have just gotten like any other comp. I still got second place, but I lost to a demon comp. which I haven't lost to demons at all in BGs since the new patch until that game. But yeah, BGs is fun. It's just core set BGs right now. But the new way the tribes work is pretty fun. I really like those changes. Tito, what about you?
Well, I wanted to hit Legends, so I stopped playing Asteroid Shaman because it was not going to get me there. As much as I love the deck, and I followed in the same vein as WikiGood talked about on Coin Concede, and I climbed with Dungar Druid because one, solid deck for climbing, and two, I typically avoid those decks, and I think that hurts me in THL by not giving myself reps on like all the good decks so I know what to bring, and I have the confidence in that. So I've been really kind of branching out into that a little bit more, where I've been playing like I've Dungar Druid, and I've been playing the Discover Hunter, which is fun, and a few other decks to really kind of like wrap my head around playing all these decks and making sure that I can bring what I think would be a good matchup to THL. And I did that this week, except for some reason I posted the wrong list into the THL submission. Sure. Like I got my lineup straight. Yep. So I had to play 4 decks that I was fine with the decks I played. So I was supposed to play McBannerface this week. For some reason he decided to get a sub. I don't know why, but maybe he was just afraid to play me, after talking to me on the podcast a few weeks ago. But obviously he was in World, so yeah, he knew I meant business. Lotus Knight subbed, and we went 5 games, and the first game I lost was really a non-game. They just drew the nuts, and I had nothing. But after that, all the remaining games were really good. I felt like I played pretty well, even though I didn't really have the comfort in a couple of the decks. But overall, I was very happy, and I think I'm worrying less about my rank and more worry about just being a better Hearthstone player. And I think even though my rank isn't necessarily jumping up yet, I feel like I'm becoming a better player, and I like that. So we're just going to keep going forward with that. But I've also been playing a lot of BGs. I am last season. I only got up to about 4,800, maybe 5.2, and somewhere around there, because I didn't play a lot of the standard BGs. I had me and Pilot had 6K in duos because we do that like every night on stream. But I didn't really get there. But right now, lately, I'm trying to finish curating my Magic collection so I can possibly sell it or whatnot. And so BGs is nice for that because I can play BGs, and between my turns I can look up cards and enter them in the database and sort them in the big thing and all that. So I've been doing that a lot, and I'm up to 4,200 already. So for me, that's pretty good. And I want to get probably my best rating. I don't know how to check that, but I want to see is there a site, Pocky, that keeps track of all like your history, like Donkey does with your standard ratings?
I think Donkey's site also has BG's ratings, but I don't know how consistent it is for that. The only one that I know that would be really pretty good is if you have the premium HS Replay Premium or Battlegrounds, it does track that in your peaks and all that. So it's quite good for that. But otherwise, yeah, it's a little difficult. I know a lot of the trackers, it's a little weird because they use the leaderboard data, which only covers above 8K. It's been through various revisions, the leaderboard. So I think currently it only tracks above 8K. This is the current state of it.
And that's not me. Maybe this season. But Pocky, what have we been doing outside of the game of Hearthstone?
A lot of photography. I sort of brought up last time that I was pushing more into that, and I've been doing that. I have been spending some time with family. It's the holiday season, so Thanksgiving, spend some time with family, and obviously with Christmas coming up, I'll have both my sisters will be coming back to town and hopefully get to spend some time with them and everything and celebrate. So I'm looking forward to that. I am hoping, a little bit pessimistic with the current state of things, but I'm hoping for a white Christmas this year because we didn't get it last year. And, I'm in Minnesota, so it's like when we don't have a white Christmas, it's like it's not right. This isn't right. So hoping we get some snow soon because it's fun. And I mean, to tie it back to the photography stuff, I have people asking me, they're like, I want to do a snowshoot. I'm like, sounds great. I can't control the weather though. I've had people ask me for like sunset. I'm like, we can't do a sunset. It's raining. Like I like, as much as I would love to be able to make the sun come out, I can't do it. And I can't make it snow either. So we're at the mercy on that one.
Yeah, but you could charge premium rates to say, hey, like, look, I don't have a time, but like I can save a time as soon as like we see the snow, we can get it scheduled quickly, and it's only going to cost you 2 times extra.
True. Okay. Got some business brain over here. I like it.
And you can have my snow. We've already had snow a couple times. I've already had to shovel the driveway a couple times. It's cold. It was 10 degrees today. That is Fahrenheit for our Canadian listeners. And the construction, well, anyway, I'll talk about that afterwards. But Doc, how about yourself? What have you been up to outside of this wonderful game of Hearthstone that we play?
Just a lot of time with my in-laws. It was my father-in-law's birthday party yesterday. It was his birthday 2 days ago. So I had some dinner with him. And then today we had a white elephant gift exchange at my fiance's grandma's house. And we came back with 2 goldfish because that was what my fiance opened and nobody stole from her. So now we have 2 goldfish and she is getting like water treatment stuff right now to help take care of the goldfish. So yeah, that's the silly fun thing. I've also just been playing a lot of Commander like always. I just really like Magic. I did build a standard Magic deck. Have yet to actually play in like a game, but when I goldfish it in practice, I'm consistently dealing like 14 or 15 damage on like turn 4 or 5, which is pretty fast and is about where I want it. It's not 100% meta, but it's pretty close to a meta list. So I've been enjoying that. What about yourself, Tito?
Well, I remember you mentioning just recently that you had a deck that you made for Daniel. And
yes,
did it include Heir Apparent?
I wanted to put it was a rabbit deck. It was rabbit tribal. I didn't put Heir Apparent into there. And listeners, if you don't know what Heir Apparent is, I think it's a 1 white, 1/1. When you play it, it makes a rabbit token creature for every other card named Heir Apparent, and you can have any number of this creature in your deck outside of the normal restriction of 4 for standard and 1 for commander. So it's a very funny, memey card. It's a common that sells for like $6, by the way. So it's not a cheap card.
And Matt at Arms suggests you pair it with Spelunking, which is a green spell that when Spelunking enters the battlefield, draw a card. If you may put a land card from your hand into the battlefield. If you put a cave onto the battlefield this way, you gain 4 life. Yep.
Spelunking was in there.
Very nice.
And then I included a couple cave cards because I had to have the whole rabbit hole worth exploring theme for them.
Very nice. So tomorrow the work starts on repairing the damage that happened to my house with that. So we had everything dried. Now we had to negotiate get different estimates, and that starts tomorrow. So I'm very happy. I really like the contractor guy that we have decided upon, and I hope that he actually does good work because I would like to keep him. When you find the people that like do the work that you're happy with, you like to continue to use those same people. So I'm kind of hoping that we're happy with him afterwards. Outside of that, like I said, I've been going through Magic cards. One of the most disappointing thing about Magic cards when you're going through them, like, because I have cards that are older than Doc, right? And
yep. Well, so maybe by like a few months, because I also turned 30 this year, just like Magic. So
Okay, fair enough.
I guess no, Magic's 32.
Yeah, like I bet you, when was Ice Age done?
I was born in 94.
The dark release date was, that's the show. Okay, never mind. But like I have really old cards, like from like 92, 93, maybe even earlier. So I remember, I'll see a card, I'm like, I remember this card used to be worth something, like it used to be valuable and stuff like that, and then look it up and it's like, oh, this is 30 cents. So it's been kind of disappointing on some levels. I'm like, oh, the Ragman, it wasn't a good card, and no, it wasn't. But like it's like kind of like Hearthstone, where like your perception of cards when we were playing Classic and Goblins versus Gnomes versus how we understand cards and how they work together today are different. It's like back then, we used to just you approach things differently and all that. So it was kind of disappointing that some of these cards aren't worth it. And then I'll pick up a card and be like, oh, this is interesting. I'm like, oh, $40, great. Let's put that in a sleeve and carry that on later. So yeah, it's been fun. Outside of that, I've been moving the elf every night like a good dad should. And just getting ready for the holidays and still waiting on the job. I've accepted the job offer. Now we're just waiting on clearance. So I'm just hoping that comes through, and I will be continually hoping that gets through until that actually happens, because right now it's just like a big sword of Damocles hanging over my head, and I just hope it's done. But I'm really looking forward to doing the work. And in fact, I even got another call from another department in that same company, be like, hey, you came to a job fair. Are you still looking for work? I'm like, well, actually, I accepted an offer at your company. I was like, oh, okay, great. Well, then I guess you're all set. But that's me outside of Hearthstone. But we did have I don't know if we alluded to this before or if this was during our pre-chat, but we had a Masters Tour World event today. I don't know, it's the Worlds today, so Masters Tours and then into the Worlds. And it was an awesome event. I caught a lot of it over the weekend. Did either of you guys catch any of it at all?
I watched the McBanter phase series in the quarterfinals.
Okay, and Pocky, I think you said that you caught a little bit of it, but you really weren't paying that much of attention because Standard's not really a thing anymore.
Yeah, it's hard to follow everything, when you're like, wait, what's that card doing? And then it's the next one, you're like, wait, but a lot. I mean, there's a lot of great players. So
I typically miss a lot of the weekend events because family life and all that kind of takes precedence over sitting down at the computer watching that, and usually other things are going on. But I actually caught quite a bit of the event this weekend, and I was really enjoying it. The final match was ML Yeming, who won the whole thing, beat Fury Hunter in Game 5, and it was a series. It was a really, really good series. There was a moment in Game 3, I think, where Fury Hunter played Yogg and did something with Yogg, whatever it was, attack or steal a minion, and Yogg cast Twisting Nether, clearing the board, and that ended up costing him the game, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was a great moment where Yogg did Yogg things and really kind of affected the outcome of the board more than just what he does. So I really enjoyed that. But Game 5 was really good because it was Emily Yamming was playing the Discover Hunter, but Discover Hunter had Fizzle in it. So the entire kind of end game concept is you get with the Draenei that when you discover something, you get a copy of it. You get 2 Fizzles, and then you get Fizzle Snapshot, and then you take a snapshot of your hand with a snapshot in the snapshot. And if you like snapshots and you snapshot, would you like some snapshot? So that was kind of supposed to be the thing. It didn't quite work out that way. But there was, I don't know how many Ceaseless Expanses played, but in the end, Fury Hunter had his Kill Jaden portal going, and minions were getting pretty big, but if they don't have Torn or Lifesteal and you're starting to run out of things, that's kind of how it goes. So definitely almost a control-y priest mirror-y kind of thing, but not quite. So I recommend watching that. That was a lot of fun. Overall, I thought it was a great event. our boy McBannerface made it to the final 8, but lost in first round.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Max Saban also did not make it to the final 8. But he played pretty well too. Everyone played really well, and the meta I thought was pretty interesting. So definitely check that out. And make sure that you tweet at Hearthstone and say, hey, great event. Can't wait to see more, because every year we're just kind of hanging out wondering, is this the last time we're going to see anything? You could really feel that from the casters at the end, because they were kind of saying goodbye, like they weren't sure if they'd ever be back again. So I'm really kind of hoping that they do. And Lorendo was awesome, Dragon Rider was awesome, and Edelweiss, they were all awesome, all friends of the show, and they just did a fantastic job. And all the casters are great in there, and hope it's not the last time we hear them casting Hearthstone.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. I mean, obviously we talk about it a little bit, but we're here to talk about Battlegrounds, because Pocky, you don't play Standard, you play Battlegrounds, and that's why we bring you on.
Exactly.
So trinkets are gone. So what I want to know is, now that we've gone through the trinket meta, where do trinkets rank with you as far as all the BG special gimmicks? Like, is it your favorite, your least favorite, somewhere in the middle?
That is a good question. They're definitely on the higher end. For sure on the higher end. Especially, and it's a little interesting because, so this was the first revision of trinkets. And I think we haven't seen a repeat of anomalies, but everything else we've seen come back at least once, right? Mm-hmm. And some has gotten some things, like I think buddies were better the second time around. Other things, like quests, I think were worse the second time around. For various different reasons that, and the dev team that is, knows, I think a lot of it is with intention, and whether those things are better or worse is not objective. In my opinion, those things got, better and worse respectively. But for others, that would not be the case. I think overall, and I would agree with what I am judging to be the general sentiment, is that trinkets were on release probably the best event mechanic that we've had. The only one that I think would be arguably better on release would be quests, and then maybe you could make an argument about like Dark Moon Fair prizes. So we haven't really seen prizes kind of got baked into other stuff. We haven't seen like a solo prize event in. Yeah, it's weird to say this. You know what's crazy? This is a crazy aside. Is that BG's is like 5 years old.
Yep.
Is that not like why? Like, because I'm like, we haven't seen tickets in like probably 3 years or 4 years as like an event mechanic, which is just very, very crazy to me. Like, we're talking like over half the life of the game has gone by. So it's very, very interesting. Happy 5-year anniversary to Battlegrounds. I guess that kind of came and went. I don't even know if there was like it wasn't really like a celebration or anything for it.
Not in game, no.
But yeah, so I think on release quests were amazing before they added kind of that second set halfway through the quest meta, and after they sort of balanced some of the initial stuff, quests were really good. I was very pleasantly surprised with trinkets. When they told us about them, I was like, "There's no way. This is like broken." Like, because you see the stuff, you see the patch notes, and it's all based on theory. And to a degree, like some of the stuff was broken. I wasn't I wasn't totally wrong. But after they sort of removed some of the very outlying ones, especially some of the lesser trinkets that were very strong. Initially the Light Fang trinket was like insane. Once they got through that initial round of balancing though, and kind of they almost implemented like a philosophical shift to the power level. I think trinkets really work quite good and a positive addition to the game. Maybe not something that you'd want permanently, but it was nice.
Fair enough. And before I go into the next thing, I forget to add this question, so this is not in the show notes. But how do you feel about the reroll tokens?
You want to schedule another show? I could talk about that for a while.
Let's go high level.
Obviously not happy. I don't know anyone who was like, yeah, this is a great thing. I like if you really wanted to be generous, you could say, okay, well, you get to play the hero that you want more. But we all know, all the players know, everyone knows it's Blizzard back there, and of course, like it goes without saying, but sometimes I still see people seemingly not understand that the dev team, like the team that's actually making the game, is not the same people that are behind these sorts of decisions. But obviously it's a path to monetization. Obviously it's not, heroes are not perfectly balanced, so there's an element of pay to win to it. I don't know. I don't know. I would like to know what kind of the general player sentiment is. Like I'm talking about the players that aren't on Reddit or Twitter or Twitch. Like the players that just play on their phone and net, like they don't talk about the game. I wonder what they think, if it's something that's annoying to them or not. All the players that are more invested, obviously, like I think they kind of understand what it is, and when you understand that it's a money making thing, it's an issue. And I don't think, if you ask a high level player if they really think that this impacts balance, I don't think it really does that much. Like obviously, mathematically, it has to a little, right? Like if you have more hero options, it's better. But I don't think it really does probably impact game outcomes very frequently, if at all. You look at players like Jeef and Beater, they can go play free to play. I mean, we've seen free to play players. I've seen free to play players play like on mobile and get to first. Like they didn't hold it for the whole season, but like if you can get to that point, you can pretty much win without perks. You can win on, like, I've seen it all. I've met these players. If you're good enough, you can get to that point. At least at some point you would have been able to. I don't know. Jeef and Beater are pretty good. Now it might be a little harder, but overall, I don't think it has that much balance impact, but it's a little bit tough, like I said, it feels bad. It feels bad as someone who, I really enjoy the game, but I would say that I feel, and I know others that feel this way, that it is not a good omen of how things are going. And it's discouraging, right? We've seen this with a lot of other games, and I don't think this is a state. I mean, I'm not saying that Battlegrounds is dying. I hate, people have been saying Hearthstone has been dying for the past 7 years. The game is 10 years old. Like, it's still healthy. It's still popular. It's still a great game. Like, it's not maybe what it once was, but it's not like dying in any more in the sense that any game is dying at any given moment, right? Like, it's nothing like that. And Battlegrounds is the same, but it is a little discouraging. And the game does need to make money, right? The devs can't work for free. if they could, it would be nice. Like if we could all just live happily and do what we wanted, and money was not an issue, that'd be great. That sounds fantastic. But the devs need to make money. The company needs to make money to pay the devs. So you need some avenue for the game to make money. And we've seen the cosmetics don't really pull in the necessary funds to support the game. And so we've seen pay to win moves previously, and this is just an even greater one. Right? So
see, I haven't felt like it has been play to win, because so I will admit I did not pay for the Pass Plus, but I won one in a contest, one of the giveaways. So that was great. So I love having a free reroll every time, and it's not that I'm looking to get the edge or anything like that. I'm not a super competitive player. I try to win, but I'm not a super competitive player. I like seeing 4 heroes and saying, I don't like any of these or whatever. And then I can re-roll and it's like, oh, AFK, great. Boom, done. And, pick the player I want. And like, to me, you have just as much of a chance of rolling a hero that is worse or far worse, just as much as you get one that's better. So to me, it's not, I don't feel like it's play to win. It's just, it gives you an opportunity to maybe get a different hero. And if they started doing things where it was like, hey, you get this, you get a free, if they started saying, hey, you pay for this, you get 1 free reroll every tavern, then yes, that's bad. If this was in the game right from the beginning, no one would have blinked an eye, because it would have been like, oh, you get to reroll. It's fine.
It's funny you say that. I agree. I 100% agree. And I have talked about this. And it's tough. It's tough. It's a tough spot for the team. Obviously, the sentiment on the announcement was not good. It was not positive. But I totally agree with you. If this was how things worked from the start, even if it was monetized, you wouldn't have this reaction. But when you have a certain way of things existing and it gets changed, it's much more likely to incite negative feelings about it. So,
but here's the other thing too. If they make any change to monetization, like, it doesn't matter, people are going to complain. It could be the most innocuous thing and all that. So, so looking at what they did here, I'm fine with it. Like, and I think it made sense. It's not like you're stealing you from, like, I guess all 8 heroes you get were already pre-rolled for you anyway. So it's not like, oh, I got this before this person got this or anything like that.
But the intention is
right. Yeah. Okay. But at least, like, it's, if they're going, they have to find ways to monetize.
And I think they did do a lot of research. I think people talked about, like, that there were surveys and, like, there was an idea that something like this might exist just because they had asked for player insights about it previously. And so obviously if they ask about it, you know it's a possibility. And I agree with you. I think that of all the things they could have done, this is one that does come with a positive side as well, that improves the enjoyment of the game. That's not that while it might be competitively not perfect, right? There's a benefit to the fun aspect where you are effectively able with the rolls to get more hero options and thus more likely to be able to play a hero that you'll like, which is obviously a good thing.
And that's all I do. Like, I typically I'll see ones I roll, and then a lot of times I'll re-roll one, and I'll just, because I get the free one, and it's just like, oh, good, I get AFK, or I get just somebody I like, or I'll say, oh nope, that's worse. And I just pick the one I was going to pick and all that. So I just think it's good. But anyway, tangent aside, I remember I said we might get this under an hour, but I forgot I shouldn't have added that question in because now we probably won't. So currently we're back to kind of like a no gimmicks Hearthstone. There's no like I think of all the gimmicks that we have as like borrowed power, right? Like, you know, it's like somehow ways to add more power to battlegrounds, whether it's quests or trinkets or whatever. I loved almost every one we've had. I like buddies, I like trinkets, I like quests, I like all of them.
Yeah.
But we don't have that anymore. So is this refreshing that we're back to kind of like basics, or is this kind of like, do some people do you find this more boring because it's just like it's just there's nothing new, there's nothing.
I like these return to normalcy metas, but I am biased in the sense that overall I think power creep is not good for the game. In terms of balance and in terms of fun, it's a little split, right? Like many things, you know, there's what is fun for different people is different. Some people like making the strongest possible board and stuff, and it's not even high MMR players all have the same opinion, let alone the entire player base. So I'm not one that thinks that the goal of the game is to make the strongest board ever assembled every time. I think you know, when we talked about this, you know, to sort of tangent things back out, you know, we talked pre-show about TFT, and one of the things I really like about TFT, in the sense of that I do play it, and you know, like I said, when I am playing TFT, I kind of get addicted. When TFT is at its peak, in my opinion, is when you can kind of puzzle things together and make creative comps. And I think Battlegrounds is at its best when you can do the same thing. And so early on in Battlegrounds lifespan, if we go back 5 years, that was much more possible. Obviously, you still had comps. But because everything was at such a lower power level relatively, you know, like if you were getting stuff to like 100, that was a big unit. Now 100 in the late game, like if you have a board 100, it's like you're just gonna die. Like, you know, whereas like a board 100 like early in the game was like unbeatable. Like that's crazy. You know, so our relative power level, like in terms of just the raw numbers, you're probably talking about like things are like 10 times stronger in the late game. But I like when you could puzzle things together, and when things are a lower relative power level, it's easier for that to happen because you don't need to be that much better, right? Like if you eke out an extra 20 stats doing something creative, you can still win. Whereas right now, if you take you know, like Quillbore, which is like this probably the strongest overall minion type, it's hard for something like Undead. It has a much more trouble scaling to compete. And so when you have these bigger disparities in overall power, it disincentivizes being creative and incentivizes playing the strongest thing. You know, which can be whatever it is, but so I like the returns to vanilla stuff because usually it's a lower overall power level. I know not everyone agrees, and to them, I just say usually I can't remember the last time that we didn't, but usually by the mid-season update we get, you know, one of the event mechanics back. So I that would be my expectation this time around too. Actually, I don't know if you guys are excited about the StarCraft crossover.
Oh yeah.
I loved StarCraft. StarCraft was like one of the first games. StarCraft is what got me into Blizzard in general. Like I spent way too much time playing StarCraft 2. Like unbelievable. I think that's around that time. I wonder if we got like a seasonal mechanic in BGs of something StarCraft related, I would just be happy. I don't even
Forget
care
that.
what it
Dude, that'd be
is.
No,
sick.
no. Forget seasonal mechanic. 3 new tribes: Zerg, Protoss.
Oh, okay. I specifically,
Dude, that'd be
I
insane. I would.
specifically told the devs, like, they had asked for I just general ideas of things you would like in battlegrounds. Very you know, no, like, and that was the thing I said. I said, if you could, like, because there's think about this, okay? Imagine for a moment that instead of undead we had Zerg, okay, and instead of mechs we had uh Protoss with shields and stuff, and instead of, maybe Wellbore we had Terran, right? And these, like, you could have like the same themes, but like, just, oh, it's I can't. It would be so cool. It'd be so cool. Yeah, no, that I'm down. If you wanna pass through them, whoever it is, about doing a StarCraft, like, tribe takeover, like, oh my goodness, I'd be
Yeah, that'd be
ecstatic.
fun.
I don't need any other gimmicks. They're just new tribes after Star. Oh my, yeah,
And yeah,
I'm with you.
yeah, no, I'm full. I am a proponent. Like, I don't think Hearthstone, any of the formats in Hearthstone need to be tied to just Warcraft all the time. We have all these IPs. Give me Overwatch, even though I'm not a big Overwatch fan. Give me Diablo. Give me 3 Vikings. Give me Candy Crush. I don't care. Mix things in. Let's do it. And it
Yeah,
gives you
I'm
it
a
just
big
gives you so
fan. I
much more to
agree.
be creative. Doc. So before we move on, how do you like the back to vanilla, or are you give me the Power Power?
Yeah, I like back to vanilla because I feel like it lets me try to focus on like fundamentals of BGs better because you don't have like this extra power to like help make one of your shortcomings as a player better. So it forces you to like try to learn builds, try to like be greedy and like take the risk with power leveling with the new like damage system. Um, Forces you to learn how to scale better. I think, which has always been something I haven't been super great at, is like scaling super big and like late game scary mode. So I feel like having to find different ways to scale throughout the entire game instead of like having a power that I can focus on helps me with that. So I enjoy it, but if we get StarCraft, that'll be okay in my book.
All right, but we did get 3 new heroes. So Pocky, I'm gonna go through them and I'm gonna rate them as and what I think is their power levels. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. We got Farseer and Nabundu. Get a copy of the last spell you cast. Each turn, the hero power costs 1 less. Side note: Pilot and I did a duos match this week. We lost because I believe our 5th game, our final game. It might have been 4th, but we were playing Big Shaman. They were playing Swarm Shaman, and we got to our turn where we played Cliff Diving, where you get the 2 minions that pop out of your deck, and we thought we were good, except that we got 2 crappy minions, and one of them was Farsi and Ubundu, and they did nothing to impact the board. We just sat there kind of stunned for a second, and we lost. But Farsi and Ubundu. Then we have Zurich, Master Clono, which is summon an exact copy of a friendly minion once per game, which is great to have that spell that gives you different hero power. And Exarch Othiar, which is your next tavern spell you buy costs 1 less. And that continues every turn until you buy a spell and then it resets. I think that Farseer is the best. Zurich is second, and I think Exarch is negligible. How am I doing?
Pretty close, I'd say. Um, uh, my feelings is that none of them are that good. On release, not. I think Exarch is pretty bad, but like, uh, none of them are that amazing. We've had some situations where, on release, like, the new heroes are broken. Um, I don't think that's the case here at all. Um, Zarek is fun. Like it's kind of like the Reno thing that we've seen in the past. Um, but it's a little bit slow. Exarch is like I said. I mean, Exarch is kind of just. It seems okay in at first glance, but effectively you're really not getting that much value. Like the in theory, you're like it's a gold a turn, right? Like, but in practice, it's not, and when you use it, it's just very very lackluster. Like occasionally you can sneak in a good one cost spell, but then by the time it's the later game, like to find a really impactful spell that lines up with your cost reduction and actually is, creating efficient, it just doesn't do it. So I would say you're honestly probably spot on. Like the order of the hero's power level is correct. Just none of them are quite uh anything too impressive.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. In my personal experience, I have found Ubuntu to be really, really strong if you plan it well. Like, I have had games where every time you use it, if you don't buy another spell, you get to repeat the same spell. So I've had Quilboar games where I keep like you have one of the minions at your first. We'll talk about this in a second, but like your first pick two spell has them both, and then I have the spell that gives you +2 but +4. And I keep casting that, and things just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Or you can use it to like the spell that says, "Hey, pick a minion, get a different minion of that type," and you can really build a board quickly that way. And especially so, I've had really strong games with beetles, where if you get that one that gives you the beetle, the 4 beetles each turn, and you've been playing a big beetle board, you keep playing that over and over again. That just feels really strong. So my experiences with Ubuntu it's been targeted. If you target it well, it can be super strong if you are consistent with it.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. The last word that you brought up is the consistency. Is just the issue there. You can obviously get really strong power spikes because spells are very strong, especially the higher tier ones. And even more so when you can copy them. Like a lot of spells can be synergistic, where like getting 2/6s can be more than just it's you know more than the sum of its parts. And like if you have 2/6s that synergize, it's stronger than just 1/6, right? And so getting that copy is very strong. But occasionally you'll just have games where you can't really get the copy, and you can't uh spike with it. But there are a lot of creative ways to use it. You can use it for triple discovers. You can use it for all sorts of different things. So doesn't necessarily just need to be tavern spells.
Are you talking about
Which is
Cloner or are you talking about Farseer? Because I'm like I think.
no Farseer.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like the triple discover is a spell.
Oh,
So
okay,
if you
yeah.
triple, you can cast this and you get a copy of the,
Oh, that's
the
right.
discovery. So there's lots of creative ways to use it. It's a good hero, like a decent above average hero, I would say for sure. But you will have like dud games where you just things aren't going right, and you get your copies early, and by the time you would hit something impactful, you're dead.
Fair enough. All right, so we're back to vanilla, but we've had a big shift in minions and also kind of play patterns of each of the tribes. So I'll just go through them all, and like if you get used to playing one way and you're like, I don't know what to do now, this will help you. So with beasts, we have beetles, and those are now scaling summon minions that summon through the game. And to me, from my experience, is if you get in beetles early and you can take advantage of that, great. But if you don't get into them early, they're not something you can really pivot to later on because they won't scale fast enough in order to survive. Am I wrong about that?
No, that sounds correct. I mean, with everything, you kind of have to judge the pace of the lobby and like what combo you have set up to scale them, because there are a number of different ways to scale the beetles. So if you have Titus with Macaw and Reborn, and you can like trigger the death rattle that scales them like a lot of times in one turn, maybe it is an option. But overall, I would agree with you 100%. Like, it's something you want to start early-ish, and it's not something you make a one-turn pivot to if you have no health and you're like, I just need to live and I need a board. Like you need a couple turns for them to ramp regardless. Whether you have a good setup or not, like, it takes some time. So if time is not on your side, then beetles are probably not an option.
And is Beast doing anything else right now? Because it feels like there's a lot of trap cards. Like Goldrin feels a little trappy. The horse, the mecha horse there feels a little trappy because it doesn't feel like it has the pieces around it like it used to. So is Beast doing anything else?
No, not really. Hopefully, it'll get buffed in the future, or maybe even just nerfing beetles and nerfing some of the other things that kind of overshadow beasts. It's one of those things that when you have a patch, and we'll get to the other minion types later, but when you have stuff that's overpowered, it can like kind of diminish everything else, so you don't really truly see the power level. I mean, we've seen this in many other games where something else gets nerfed and then a new thing is OP, even though it didn't get buffed at all, right? It was just under the surface. I don't think beasts have anything like that in my mind right now, even. But yeah, there's not really anything besides beetles if you're really truly trying to play beasts.
Fair. All right. Undead. It seems like it's just reborn. Is there anything else that Undead's doing? What's going on with Undead?
They have death rattles in there, but it is primarily reborn. It's still a summon type. I'm pretty sure Undead are the worst minion type right now. If I remember correctly, certainly by feel, I think they are. Like they feel pretty bad to play. Like overall, between all the minion types, there are some builds like I think non beetles beasts are not great. But undead just don't have much scaling. The catacomb build, where it's the build that kind of scales off of things not being summoned, is it just doesn't seem that good. Like you're mostly building up one unit, and if it gets teched out or someone is able to cover it stats wise, it feels like you're not doing that much, and obviously you're kind of inherently losing some value from the setup. Like the whole idea of the build is to lose value on your summons, and make it up in stats. So undead not doing too much. Definitely not one of the most powerful.
All right, Quillbor and Doc, if you have any questions on any of the classes, obviously pipe in. Quillbor is really kind of dived into a choose one type mechanic. And like you said, it's really strong. It feels so that 1/3 that every time it takes damage for the first 3 times you get a gem. It feels like that card just scales uncontrollably if you play it right early on. Where if you just get something going, for me, it's felt super strong. And you can really ramp up from there. And then you get the leg day and arm day or whatever, and all the choose ones, and it just feels really strong. And but I don't really know how to describe the build. So how would you describe this?
Yeah, the current like best setup for Quillbor is definitely choose one stuff. But honestly, with the current state of Quillbor, it's not even you don't even need to choose a build. Like you just choose some of the things and you scale your gems, and it's gonna be good. Like you're gonna make something good. The gem scaling is just very strong. There's technically an end of turn build with Gem Smuggler, Bran, Young Murkai if Murlocs are in, and like Charlie, and you kind of like scale your gems or play your gems that way, like with end of turn stuff. But the choose one I would say is certainly stronger and um I mean yeah, just cool war. There's so many different varieties. You just need gem scaling and gem generation. So if you get that on your board early, and you can build up a strong unit, whether that's Myrmidon with Naga to kind of double your stats, or a Divine Shield, or a Cleave, which there's only one Cleave now, I believe. So,
Yep.
But if you can make use of utility, it's quite good.
All right. How about Naga? Because the only time I've ever played Naga since the patch, I never go Naga because I don't think I know where to go with it. And for the most part, I'll play Naga in parallel with Quillbore because I can use the blood gems on some of like the one that doubles the stats and all that. But aside from that, I have no idea what we're doing with Naga. So what are we doing with Naga?
Besides playing it with Quillbore, because mostly we're playing it with Quillbore. But yeah. The new I want to say it's a 3-drop. It scales based on how many spells you've played in a game. It's the Deep Blue replacement, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. It has long-term scaling, but you kind of control it more. And unlike Deep Blue, it's something that you don't necessarily need to move into right away. As in you don't need to have been scaling it from early in the game, because you will have scaled it naturally based on just playing spells naturally.
And
honestly,
that's both tavern spells and spellcraft, or the Naga spells, right?
Yep, all spells. So unless unless something specifically points out like a different kind of spell, it's inclusive. So tavern spells, triples, blood gems, coins, spellcraft all count. So usually in a game you'll have played a few spells. It's unlikely that you haven't, and that you're 0-0 scaling the whole way. By the time you pick it up. Kind of a cool change. I'd say overall though, Naga they're a little overpowered, or I shouldn't say overshadowed by Quillbore, in that usually if Quillbore are in, you would just rather play Naga with Quillbore than Naga with Naga. Yeah, I guess it feels like a Lava Lurker is just a bit too slow, and some of the 6-drop stuff is maybe not there yet. It's not bad. It's just you'd almost always rather play other stuff. Yeah.
All right. How about mechs? Because it feels like mechs is targeted more around. We got like the Wind Fury minion on one, and it feels like you just kind of want to build on that with magnetics, and you get some pretty cool magnetic based at the end at tier 6, whatever. But it doesn't feel like we're doing a whole lot with mechs outside of just magnetic and Wind Fury. Although there's still some Divine Shields back.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with mechs, and to a lesser degree Murlocs, is the return of mech roll, which Holy Mac roll, originally a Murloc, was one of the strongest cards of all time. I don't know if you guys remember, but that was a Murloc, and if you could get Divine Shield Poison, you could infinite loop Divine Shield Poison sometimes, and it was insanely strong. And then they brought it back as Holy Mechrol, because then it wouldn't be able to get poison. And it was also insanely strong, because if you could get the attack up, it's almost effectively becoming poison, and resetting Divine Shields is very, very good. They brought back Holy Mechrol as a dual type mech Murloc, which is crazy because it is just too easy to buff. And resetting divine shields are insane. No matter what meta we're in, for the history of battlegrounds, resetting divine shields has always been a meta strategy. From the beginning with Cobalt Guardian, the precursor to Deflectobot, which actually, speaking of crossovers, I don't know if you guys know this, but did you guys know that Deflectobot is like based off of Genji from Overwatch?
I did not.
No. I knew about like Bob and Audiomedic and all that.
Yeah, if you look up the art for Deflectobot and then Genji, like it's obviously it's not called Genji or anything, but yeah, because the deflecting and stuff. So fun little thing there. But yeah, like so we had Cobalt Guardian, Deflectobot, holy like Divine Shield resets have always been meta. But magnetic mechs are also quite strong. So mechs are probably the second strongest type besides World War, I would say. And yeah. So those would be the two things.
In almost any build I have, if I have a minion that has all that I can magnetize to and still do the other things, it always feels like that's kind of like good to have one minion that's got like Wind Fury and has the ability to magnetize to, especially towards the end there. So I always try to keep that going. But that's because there's a lot of keywords, kind of like Murloc. Murloc seems to be based all around new keywords now. Is that kind of like the direction? Because there's no longer buffing from hand or anything like that. It's all just keywords.
Yeah, they are. I think it's hard to judge Murloc's strength right now because it's such a drastic change to how they existed previously. I think the hand buff Murlocs were clever and interesting, but it was just too hard to balance. There was never a good spot for them because they kind of broke some inherent rules of battlegrounds, and that obviously you don't want to break the rules. We're good rule following players here, and so playing cards from hand just made things kind of really hard to address from a balance perspective. The keyword thing I think is an interesting mechanics change. I don't think the balance is there, but I think it's just such a new concept, and it's not even just a new concept to try and understand. It's also a new concept for players to get comfortable playing with, right? Like even I was watching Dog's patch preview, and he like didn't understand, and he got stuck like for like 20 or 30 minutes trying to understand what bonus keywords meant. And I was just watching a recording, otherwise I would have told him and cleared it up within like instead of him spending 20 minutes on it. But and Dog is a player that's very good at the game, right? And has a great understanding, and he was confused. So I think, it's going to take a while for players at large to really, truly kind of understand how Murlocs work and how to buff them and what the best strategy is. I don't think we're there yet. So we'll kind of see. I think they probably do need everything needs a little bit of tuning, but yeah. The Murlocs are very interesting. Do you guys like the Murloc rework?
I like the minion that you get on turn 1.
Oh, see, I think that's interesting. I've seen people that really dislike it because it's very coin flippy.
I mean, which
is yeah.
Well, you get one, you get two. Thing, yeah, you get one, you get two. You triple it up, and all of a sudden you have a minion that does pretty well. You can buff it. I mean, it's one of those minions that feels like it can scale from turn 1 to the mid game, and really kind of is one of those ones. It's kind of like a trap. I feel like, because it's one of those minions that you can actually get pretty well, but then you don't pivot out of it before you should, and then it's detrimental to you in the long run because, like, well, yeah, now it has Divine Shield and it has Venomous and whatever, but like I should have got out of it because I couldn't have scaled other places. But it's a fun minion. They seem okay. Like I I think it's been rare that I've gone full Murlocs. Maybe like once or twice since the season started. So, how about yourself, Doc?
I haven't gone full Murlocs at all. I've primarily picked up the one drop, just because I didn't like what was in the shop otherwise. I think it's a cool idea. It's just the first time we've had this kind of mechanic on creatures before. So it'll take us getting used to on how to like optimize it and everything. And same with the devs, like this, they're experimenting with a new way like cards can work and whatnot. But I like the idea for sure. It's just not in a spot where I would feel excited to play Murlocs in a lobby right now if I had to.
Yeah, you never go full Murloc, but I do go full Dragon. And I think there's two ways to play Dragon right now. You can do you can do both the traditional, right? You can either do kind of like battle cries with Malagos, or you can do kind of Terragosa, Proto Drake, and other minions, and just kind of scale that way. They feel pretty the same-ish. I almost always pivot once I get Terragosa. If I see Terragosa early or whatever, I'll pivot real fast just because I'm a sucker. How are dragons?
Dragons are interesting in that we do have a new build. Well, it's a semi-new build with the end of turn effects. However, they're overshadowed by a returning build, which is the Nightbane Poet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which at least at high MMR is just too strong. It's too easy to make good. High attack and like it's the same idea, right? High attack that scales exponentially basically if you get the right hits on your scaling with Poet and the Nightbanes scaling each other. Happens incredibly fast, and then you pair that with the Divine Shields from Poets, and if you get like an Adina or something, and Selfless Hero is back, is very, very, very strong. And so, again, it's kind of a case where one of the builds kind of just overshadows the other. Where I don't think we're gonna have any of the end of turn dragons really get to see their full time in the spotlight until something is done about Nightbane, which I think is just a problematic minion as it exists right now.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I love getting the Divine Shields on there and just kind of, getting some big dragons and hitting things. And I'm a sucker, like I said, I always go for them. How about demons? Demons just feel the same-ish. Like, they feel strong. We will more options to suck minions out of the from the shop, get +5. You can get them +5. You can get them bigger and stuff like that. But it just feels kind of the same-ish.
It is same-ish. Self-damage demons, like with the rolling, you can kind of go infinite and play like APM demons, which is fun but very hard to set up. Demons are the other, like, between Wilbur are obviously the best, and then it's probably between mechs and demons for what's the next best behind them. You can get your shop quite buffed, and then if you have the setup to make it so that you can consume minions frequently or regularly from the shop, whether that's Fellbat or the new battle cry or whatever, demons are quite strong. But in terms of new identity or anything, I don't think anything besides that.
There's not even like an option for anything. I don't even feel like there's a option out there that is weaker. It's just it's make bigger demons and eat things from the shop.
Yeah,
pirates,
more or less.
Pirates give you two different ways to play. You can do APM pirates, and then you can do resummon pirates, right? There's kind of both ways, and both feel really strong. But I'm guessing you're thinking they're probably mid tier right now.
Yeah. I think that I mean, obviously anything that has the ability to go infinite, inherently, like, there obviously is some strength to that just by chance. like if something is infinite, like it's good. You have infinite gold, and you can get there, but it's a lot harder than it has been in the past and a lot slower. I think the design is great. I really like the change. You have kind of the economy engine on tier 4, that being the pirate, that when you add 4 pirates to your hand, you increase your max gold, so you can basically increase your max gold up to 100. That is cool. But it kind of lacks consistent scaling options, so it's not always good. And if you just pair that with how powerful everything else is, it's the windows where you can actually get a win with APM pirates feels lower than what it should be, if that makes sense. Or considering that you have infinite gold, it sometimes feels like you're kind of weak, stat wise, because you weren't able to scale, and you're like, well, I was infinite, but what have you done with your infinite money?
I feel like it's like a good second place comp. It feels like you can win almost the entire lobby, and then you'll run into demons or whatever. And like, yeah, you keep running into them. It's going to take an hour, but like they're just going to outscale you.
Yeah, I don't know if you've played any other games where you kind of have like almost like a DPS check. I can't remember the name of it, but the new Pirate 6 drop that gets health when any other pirate gets attacked.
Yeah. It gets three health.
Right.
Yeah.
The health goes crazy, right? Like it scales extraordinarily fast if you have a setup. But it can be if the health gets really high, it can just beat a lot of people's boards on its own. It can like single-handedly clear them. But if the person has venomous or enough DPS in the sense of attack in the battlegrounds context, it can clear the sort of DPS check that presents, and then the pirate player doesn't really have anything because they were really banking on that huge pool of health to get them there. So kind of an interesting.
If only there was a trinket that would make your attack equal to your health.
That's what we need. Just like I said, just wait for the mid-season update. Maybe we'll get the trinkets back.
And then almost finally, we have elementals. We got Nomi back. It feels like it's back. And a lot of things that when you sell an elemental, you get buffs plus health plus DPS plus damage, whatever. It feels like we're kind of APM elementals is kind of the way to go. Is there anything else we're doing with elementals or?
Yeah, I mean, elementals got a big change because recycling Wraith is gone. And that was a pretty core component to elementals in the past. Now elementals are probably amongst the weakest types, I'd say, in terms of playing APM, just because generating the economy to support them can be a little bit difficult. Now, of course, would we even be BG's players if we didn't address the ballers in the room, which is the baller comp? That is a pretty fun comp. It's mostly only viable on specific heroes, especially Gallywicks in certain situations. But that is a secondary build with the ballers.
So what is the baller comp for those that are listening and don't know what we're talking about?
Basically there's snowballer and fireballer that buff your board and scale both themselves, like future copies of themselves and each other, when you sell them, by buffing your board. So initially it's +1 health or attack, and then when you sell one, it'll be +2 health or attack, and so you can scale that up by consistently selling them. And what you do is you stay on tier 2, you buy Bedrock, Bountiful Bedrock, I think, the one that gives you elementals over time.
Yep.
Which, and then ballers. Obviously, you just constantly generating and cycling ballers till you scale your board up to a point that it's very strong. I guess
that kind of sounds fun.
Yeah, it is.
It
It
is.
is fun. Like I said, it's not super great on every hero, but yeah, you basically spam bountiful bedrocks and ballers, and yeah, you get there.
All right. So that's all the tribes. We talked a little bit about combining Quillbar and Naga. Are there any kind of menagerie or combo type builds that we should be considering besides that?
I right now I would say no. I don't think Menagerie really is having a huge impact on the meta. Um, Menagerie is an interesting. It's an interesting marker. Because usually if there's something that's too strong, Menagerie won't shine because Menagerie is inherently taking something from everything, right? So unless something like Lightfang itself or Theatar is broken on its own, the um the Menagerie comp will be worse than the best comp, right? Because why wouldn't you just, like, in this case, Quillbor, right? Why wouldn't you just play Quillbor? Why would you play one Quillbor and one Naga and one Beast and one Pirate? When it's like, just all the Quillbor are better because Beasts and Pirates and the other ones are not good. So you're diluting your power. So right now, I don't think Menagerie is particularly meta relevant. But hopefully we'll be seeing an initial patch soon to kind of work through some of these balance issues that we've had the past few days.
Okay, so that brings me into, so we have a couple extra questions at the end here. I typically almost always skip these minions like Theatar now. Like there's like, hey, give all your even minions +2/+2. Death Rattle, give all your odd minions +2/+3. I tend to skip all those unless I have no better option. Am I doing myself a disservice, or are those minions all kind of just like bad right now?
I wouldn't say you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Early on, I think it's more obvious when those kind of things are good. Some of them, like Theatar right now, I don't think is really amazing or anything. Or even particularly good. Some of the other ones, like the you can count the stats, and if 14/14 seems worth it to you, or like I said, in the situation, things are relative, right? Like if you're adding 6/6, if you're adding 10/10 to 6 minions and it's 60 stats, right? 60 attack, 60 health for 2 gold, that's pretty good at many points of the game. But if you're at the end of the game and all your minions are over 150 in stats, like 10 extra stats is less relative strength. So I think that's kind of how I feel about some of those buffing ones. The tech ones, which I don't even know if there are tech ones right now, but the off
You have a lot of odd and even stuff right now.
Yeah. The stats ones, it's not great. They're not great right now. I don't think you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Like I can't think of specific ones. Some of the tech stuff, obviously you don't want to skip when it's relevant, but other than that, like there's nothing that's like, oh yeah, everyone's got to be playing Lightfang right now. Nothing like that.
Fair enough. Now, I know you probably don't see much of this at 10K or wherever you're at right now, but what mistakes do you think people are making now with the changes in tribes? Are people trying to cling to old ideas, or do you see things that people are doing? You're like, why are you still doing that? Or what mistakes what are making with these changes?
From honestly, usually in early patches, and this holds for most patches, the number one mistake people make is trying new stuff. That sounds really stupid.
No,
but a lot of times it's the case where the new stuff just isn't that good, and unless you know it is and you find out, a lot of times it's just best to avoid it. I remember again dating myself in BG's terms, but when Pirates came out, the new thing was Pirates, and everyone just wanted to try Pirates and play Pirates. And if you played Pirates on release, you lost a lot of them because they were not good. And on top of that, people didn't know how to play them. Like, whereas now, when new stuff is released, what you can do is just not play the new stuff. You'll beat all the people that are trying to play the new stuff and don't know how it works. And then eventually, when someone does figure out how it works, you learn from them. And then that's when you try it. So usually the number one mistake people have is trying the new stuff.
Fair enough. And Doc, this is when what I used to do before I hit Legend, when I was trying to get Legend, was when the new sets came out, everyone's trying new things, and I would say, oh, you know what's really good? This aggro deck that was really refined, and you could farm ranks that way while everyone's trying new things. And is it kind of a, a not cool move? Sure, but who cares? Because you're the one trying to get your ranks up. So,
yep.
So that's the strategy. So final question. I think we went a little longer than we expected, but we're still pretty early in the show. I would have bet money that we would have had Draenei as a tribe released in this expansion. So are you surprised that we don't have Draenei? And if they did do Draenei, what do you think that would look like in Battlegrounds?
I personally wasn't surprised. I don't know why, because I had a small discussion about it. And I was like, no, I wasn't surprised. So, like, someone asked, and I wasn't surprised at all. I don't know why. I feel like part of the reason is, and I have no basis for this at all, none. I just feel like the BG's team is happy with where they're at in terms of the number of minion types. I think that's the only reason. I think they like 10. They have 10. They have multiple summit. Like they pretty much use the mechanics you could think of. Yeah, I wasn't surprised. And I don't know what they would look like if they did. I guess that's the next bit. But I thought about that too, because we kind of alluded to the Zerg, the idea of like doing different types in the future. Particularly the StarCraft ones would be a great start. And when I was thinking, like, there's a certain dynamic to Battlegrounds right now where you have this rock, paper, scissors, and you've had this rock, paper, scissors from the beginning of Battlegrounds, where you have summons, and then you have stats, and then you have like utility. So originally the summons were beasts, and to a lesser extent mechs, because you had shield resetting, and then stats was something like dragons, and then you'd have something like murlocs, which were like poison. That kind of created a rock, paper, scissors where the summons and stuff would beat the poison stuff, and the poison would beat stats, and the stats would beat summons. And so you kind of have these inter-tribe dynamics. And so I feel like they always would want to keep a new minion type reflective of one of the ones that you'd rotate out, right? Not necessarily eliminated, but rotated out. So I guess I would expect that they would be somewhat similar to one of the existing types in theory, but I don't know.
Be cool, like instead of rock, paper, scissors stapler. Let's go. Anyway.
Right.
Doc, that was a lot of information, I think. You got any final questions, or are you ready for dessert?
I think dessert sounds pretty good right now. So Pocky, what is your favorite December holiday tradition?
Ooh, that is a good question. Uh, is like I feel like it's cheating. But I would honestly just say Christmas. All the things that go into it is very not traditional, but tradition for me. We've always had very similar stuff where we would go over to my grandparents for Christmas Eve. And people, especially my mom's side would join there. And then my dad's family on Christmas, and opening gifts and seeing family, and just doing dinner and all the things that go along with it. Like I honestly that's probably my favorite part. Like the whole aspect of the tradition for me, rather than any of the individual
The sum of the
things,
parts.
because right. So it's kind of like I feel like it's a cheating answer, but that is the answer. So.
So, listeners, please leave us a review. We prefer 5 stars because it helps us with visibility. Give us an honest rating, and let us know how you feel about the show. The good, bad, the ugly. We'll take all criticism, and if you leave us a review, we'll read it out on the show.
And also let us know who you'd like to see on the show, and I'll try to get them.
Pocky, where can people find you on social media?
I am on Twitter as Pocky @Pocky_plays. I did make a Blue Sky. I made a couple blue skies. I have one under Pocky Plays and one under Lang McYee, which is LIANGMCYEE, which is kind of like, I don't know if you guys have this, but I had like 4 Twitter accounts for different things. And it's just way too many to manage. And I was just like, when I was making Blue Sky, I'm like, I just want one. And I'm like, what do I put this under? Do I put it under my streaming? Do I put where do I put it? I'm like, I'm just gonna put it under my name. So I'm trying to consolidate my Blue Sky, which I still haven't really gotten around to truly using how I would like to. But it's almost weird. I'm like, what do I post about now? Because I make this combined one, and so I don't know. We're working on it. It's all confusing. The social media stuff. It's too much now. It's too much. But other than that, I'm on Instagram as well. I only have 3 Instagrams. I have my new photography one, which is Pocky Photography. I have Pocky Plays, which is my gaming stuff. And when Hearthstone sends us stuff, I try and post on there and stuff. Which I actually they sent this nice, cool space themed headphone stand that I've been fiddling with all podcast, and it's nice. I post stuff on there, and then I have also Lang McKee, where I post travel and food and street photography and whatever I feel like on that one. That one I do whatever. So that Instagram is not consolidated, but yeah, I mean, between Lang McKee or Pocky Plays or Pocky Photography, you can pretty much find me on all the social media channels.
Doc?
Yeah, you can find me on Discord and Blue Sky. How about yourself, Tito?
You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Blue Sky, and TikTok, and pretty much everywhere at Tito Santana HS. Pocky, anything you'd like to promote or shout out this week?
Yeah. We talked about the tournaments. Sapphire and Educated Collins are hosting a duos tournament on the 17th. So I don't know if those will be out by then, but if not, hopefully people had got to check it out. And there's not a lot of Battlegrounds competitions these days, but that'll be one, and hopefully it'll be fun. and hopefully I'll be able to put out some good results. I think I'm playing with Odd Dragon. Maybe I'm not sure.
You don't even know who you're playing
we'll
with,
see.
but it won't matter. You'll win anyway. You'll win anyway.
That's the
Not
hope.
cover
That's the
yourself.
Yeah, I just want to shout out my brother again. So his short film Pickles has had a fantastic festival run. For its festival run, it's got accepted into so many, like almost the entire poster is covered in laurels at this point. He did just win 2 awards at the Future of Utah Film Commission Film Festival. It won Audience Award and not Best Screenplay, but maybe Best Director. I forget. And then it also got accepted into the Cambria Film Festival in California. So my brother's going to be in California for Pickles, which it should be on YouTube now, I believe. So if you just look up like Pickles short film, it might be available. Heavy content warning. There is implied like alcoholism and drug use. But yeah, just very impressed with my brother. Very happy that his short film has been doing so well. And yeah, it's just been very cool to see that still having such continued success. How about yourself, Tito?
You know, this is like the first time I can remember that I'm like, I don't have any idea on anybody I want to shout out or anything I want to promote. I just was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like when Smarms has to come up with the one thing they want to say about Hearthstone and they're not prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for it today, so I'm gonna shout out to all the America's players that competed this weekend, and I know we didn't win this week, but they'll be next year. And special shout out to Mick Banderface, who came on the show and we root for, and he'll probably win it next year. But anyway, guys, I think we're toast. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Slide two brothers meet one another when they slide up to the mic. It's bread and butter with one another. Let's start up that recording light.